Many Class B maintenance and repair jobs require engine removal. And it doesn't matter whether we are talking about a gasoline or diesel engine. Now imagine the procedure for replacing the starter. It would seem nothing special or complicated, but it is located down there on that side in the depths of the engine compartment. Accordingly, you will have to remove the engine. If you have a diesel engine, be sure to pay attention to the condition of the glow plugs, because if they are faulty and they have become stuck, then this work will require removing the cylinder head. Motors themselves do not cause trouble if they are properly and timely maintained. Their service life can easily exceed 300,000 kilometers, so if problems arise, it will most likely be with the electrics or with attachments. Well, at least the Mercedes rear suspension shouldn't cause big problems, but in any case in the region of 100,000 minus 120,000 kilometers. It is imperative to pay attention to ensure that the brake lines are intact. The front suspension is also not complicated. Everything here is primitive. The most important advantage is that, in principle, everything here is collapsible. Everything can be changed individually, that is, if, for example, you need to change a ball joint, there is no need to change the lever assembly. The number one problem of the B-Class is, of course, the CVT, and, unfortunately, there is no alternative to this transmission for this car in this generation. But if you don't count the manual transmission. Firstly, this box really doesn't like active, jerky driving, work at high speeds, and doesn't like constantly driving in traffic jams. It is imperative to monitor the condition of the belt. You need to monitor the condition of the oil. But the mechanics here are practically indestructible. It's a pity that the class of the car mainly implies an automatic transmission, so finding a B-Class with a manual in our country will be very problematic. The good news is that the interior of a B-Class can look almost like new for a long time, up to 100,000 kilometers, especially if this car has been looked after and taken care of. First of all, parts made of hard plastic are susceptible to loss of good appearance, for example, button covers on the steering wheel, which can be rubbed or simply scratched. In this case, for example, aluminum inserts simply peel off. The same can happen on the lining on the center console, but of course, if something constantly rubs in them. Otherwise, in principle, if the car has been looked after, then the interior may look good. But even here there was a fly in the ointment. The fact is that the fuse box and the battery are also located in the floor at the feet of the front passenger, and it is not sealed, to put it mildly, and everything would be fine if this car was operated, for example, in Italy or Germany where it is warm and dry, but we have snow and rain here in Russia. Moisture condensation is therefore clearly not the best place. It's difficult to call the B-Class equipment rich, so there are usually no very sophisticated electronic bells and whistles here. If something causes problems, it is again due to poor contact or oxidation in the connections. For example, there are problems with climate control, but the causes of the malfunction and how to eliminate them still come down to the contacts. Oddly enough, special attention should be paid to the body. The paintwork itself seems to be of good quality, but the anti-corrosion pre-treatment of the body raises big complaints. The interesting thing is that the company itself recognized this problem in 2008, but unfortunately did nothing to correct it until the end of the release of this generation. Initially, the technology for anti-corrosion treatment of doors and hood was violated. So be careful, most of the owners of the B-Class are representatives of the fair sex, hence the obvious statistics: either the car was cared for and cherished, doing all the necessary maintenance operations, or, on the contrary, they did not pay any attention to the condition of the car. However, given the fact that the car is initially purchased by wealthy people, savings on service are rare, but if the class managed to go into second-hand use after the warranty period, there is often a negligent attitude. So it is advisable that the car you buy still has one owner. If it were in a class of good technical condition with low mileage and adequately equipped, then in principle we can take such a car, but nevertheless we do not consider it liquid. To summarize, we can say that, in principle, you can buy this model, but preferably with a manual transmission and low mileage. If the car you like has managed to travel much more than 100,000 kilometers, be sure to study its service history. Ideally, most of the most expensive work should have already been done. Otherwise, soon after the purchase, you risk leaving the service an amount similar to the cost of the purchased car.